Call to order this meeting of the Peabody City Council. Will you please join me in a moment of silent prayer?
Move approval of the record, Mr. President, and
Councilors, you heard
recommend
the
that
motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote.
I recommend that Mr. Mark gets a new phone, please.
Councilors, this meeting is being televised live by Cable Channel 9 and is being taped by Peabody Access TV and is also being recorded by our City Council stenographer. Item 4A, this is a recessed hearing. The public notice has already been read. We're going to move right ahead with that. Attorney Kelty.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the City Council. My name is John Kelty. I'm an attorney. I have offices at 40 Lowell Street in Peabody, Massachusetts, and I appear this evening on behalf of Dennis and Michelle Feld, who are owners of the property at the corner of Berry Street and Endicott Street here in Peabody. This particular parcel of land is directly behind their family business, which is Evans Florist, and it is located, as I said, on the corner of Endicott Street and Berry Street. We have supplied the City Council with a plan that accompanied our petition, and the plan shows the utilization of an existing foundation on the property. We have asked that 1988 granted special permit be renewed and that the family be able to build the duplex that was contemplated back in '88. In 1988, there were 2 greenhouses on this property, and on this particular parcel of land. One had sustained some damage, and the Felds had hired at that time attorney Harry Ankleys, and Harry came in and requested a permit for a duplex. The Felds then were awarded that as the replacement for the 2 greenhouses. The feeling at that time was that the duplex was more in accord and compatible with the neighborhood. We now they poured the foundation, had then children to put through school, and as such, the idea to build on that property went by the boards for a while. We're now here to renew that application, renew that permit, and we have supplied you with the plan that shows the orientation of the parking. It shows the orientation of the foundation, and we've added 2 decks in the rear, and but for the decks and the parking, there's no change from the plan as it was back in 1988. We have that permit. We've developed this particular piece of property in accordance with the originally granted permit, which permit had said that we could have no access to Endicott Street. I'm not sure, no parking access, no driveway access. I'm not sure how that happened, but we've shown our parking off of Berry Street. We think that the plan is a good utilization of the property. My client, with respect to if he was granted this permit this evening, my client would be in a position to be immediately sending people out to clean up the land, prepare it for issuance of a building permit. They would bring a building plan to the building inspector's office probably within the next 30 days and get this project underway. My client has provided me with some renderings of what these units may look like. They haven't chosen one yet, but in general, they would be the same as duplex units we've seen on County Street, and we have seen on quite a few streets here in Peabody. The design would be wood frame, with some small dormers, and it would actually be quite in accord with the community, the neighborhood that it sits in. So I would pass these around if the council would like to see them. I would show them from here, and I think it's a very simple project. I think it's a great improvement to the neighborhood, and we're happy to answer any questions that the council may have. I do know that one thing that came up at our neighborhood meeting was there was some concern expressed about the about the quality of that foundation. My client had gone out and hired a structural engineer. He filed that report with the building commissioner, and the commissioner said he was able to use that foundation. With that, the utilities have already been brought in off the street, so we're happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Motion to receive photographs, Mr. President.
They're not photographs, I don't think.
Renderings. Excuse me.
Renderings. And are these renderings of what is proposed, or are these concepts of?
These are concepts that would fit on that, and they are the type and style of duplex that the Felds are thinking about building.
So just so it's clear on what we're receiving, will it be one of these 4 options, or it would be something?
No, they're conceptual, but it would be probably nothing more ornate than any of those. I mean, we're not trying to build a McMansion on that facility, so if you don't want to receive those.
Councilors, you heard the motion to receive these? Yep. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Could you pass those around? Thank you.
These were provided in response to, at the neighborhood meeting, some people said, what might it look like? So,
is there anybody here? Are you all set? Attorney Kelty?
yes.
You all set?
Yes.
Is anybody here this evening that would like to speak in support of this application? Anybody here that would like to speak in support of this application? Please step forward. State your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Jared Hockman, 52 Ellsworth Road. I just want to speak in support of this application. The Feld family who's submitted this application is a fine family. They operate a business in Peabody for a number of years. The business has been around for excuse me, well over 100 years. They haven't, but they've operated a business in this parcel or in this area for a number of years. They're constantly supporting community activities within Peabody. They're constantly supporting school activities in Peabody. They maintain a great business, and I think they're a fine family, and I think that this would be an improvement to the neighborhood, and I ask the council to support their application.
Thank you, Mr. Hockman. Is there anybody else here this evening that would like to speak in support of this application? Anybody else who would like to speak in support? Please come forward, sir. And ma'am. Yep, you can both come up. And if you could just please, nice and loud, state your name and address for the record.
Sure, Lisa Lavoie, 24 Berry Street. I like the idea of the whole building onto the property. I'd like to see it get cleaned up. I've lived there for over 18 years. So it would be nice to see. I never got a chance to see what they had an idea of what they were going to put there. I would like to see the plan.
A lot plan of the driveways between our properties.
Perfect.
That's foundation, undercut, bury, the spaces are there.
Which would be, the house would be,
That's you, right?
that's me here. Oh, I see, okay, yes, yep.
So it'd be 2 decks, 4 parking spaces.
Attorney Kelty, are you showing them something different than what we have in front of us? So I think we've already received it, Councilman Matsoulis.
That's the plan that accompanied my petition.
Thank you.
Because this is, get rid of the telephone pole, will be all the parking.
Yep. Yeah, like I said, in the past, I've cleaned the property. At least 3 times a year, I go out there with trash bags, leaf bags, clean up all kinds of trash along the sidewalk. It'd be nice to actually have, tenants living there or whatnot, to be able to clean the property, keep it looking good. Right now, it's kind of looks like
Privacy fence, baby.
a little bit of a city dump.
Thank you.
Like privacy fence would be
Be
great.
like a privacy fence between the lots.
It's
Sir, do you have anything to add? Do you want to?
Yeah.
If you could just, for process and the public record perspective, we need to keep your comments separate, and if you could just come up and say your name and address for the record, that'd be great.
Mark Seeger, our fiance. also on the mortgage. My biggest concern is just a privacy fence. So right now there's nothing there between the property lines. So our main concern is just a privacy fence. We would love to see the lot cleaned up. So we're in favor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else here this evening that would like to speak in support of this application? Anybody else that would like to speak in support of this application? Is there anybody here this evening that would like to speak in opposition to this application? Anybody that would like to speak in opposition? Seeing none? Councilor Matsoulis. I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
I just didn't think I was going to be the first one up. I'm sorry.
That's fine, sir. If you could just state your name and address for the record, please. Just hold off on your...
Hi, I'm Walter Pilkins, 69 Endicott, 69, a little nervous, sorry. 61 Warren Street Extension, which is right around the corner from the property. I also previously owned 69 Endicott Street, which is directly across from the property. We've been to the current address almost 20 years. So for the whole time, this process is going on where it's just been this terrible mess. What we're handing out, I didn't bring enough copies. Didn't bring enough copies, but these are mostly just pictures of the existing property. It's been like that. Everyone's driven past it. You know what it looks like. And actually, the person who just spoke in support of this said they just want to see it cleaned up. And one of our concerns is, of course, if you turn him down, it's going to stay just like it has been for the last 28 years. Now, the property, the way that I see it, is like so many other people in Peabody. There's a picture in there that shows what the greenhouses used to look like. They filled the whole property. Access to the greenhouses was actually from the main property, that being on Warren Street. So there was no interruption of Endicott or Berry Street. The property itself, the little dot just represents where the building's supposed to go. The property itself is what would ordinarily be considered a non-buildable lot. It's only 10,000 square feet, doesn't have the square footage, the frontage, the setback, correct spacing for the property next to it. I think, I'm not sure why it was given any strong consideration way back when it was done, but I think now you should look at this differently. It's 28 years later. A lot has changed, I think. But like everyone else that is here, everybody wants to see the property cleaned up. It's been a mess for a long time. And I just hope that if you do somehow say you're going to turn them down, it somehow still gets cleaned up. That's what we all want to see.
Thank you, sir. Is there anybody else here this evening that would like to speak in opposition? Please come forward. And if you could also please state your name and address for the record.
I'm Steve Matos from 25 Barry Street, across the street from the property. I bought the house 8 years ago, and I've lived there for 30. So I've seen it for a while, and it could be cleaned up, but I kind of like it. I don't want anything over there. And my biggest concern is the little plan that I got. There's 4 parking spaces on Barry Street, and a lot of people park there right now. And I think that's just going to push everybody onto Endicott Street. And when that usually happens, if someone has a party or something like that, it's very hard to turn out. It's very dangerous. You can't see anything. And people don't park anywhere far from the curb or anything like that. And, looking at this plan, I don't know why it can't be on the other side. But I do agree with the previous speaker. It's pretty small. I don't see why it needs to be there. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anybody else that would like to speak in opposition? Anybody else who would like to speak in opposition?
Hello, my name is Dee Pilkins. I live at 61 Warren Street Extension, Peabody. We had a meeting after the last city council because this was delayed so that Mr. Moutsalis could speak with the entirety of the neighborhood. There were like 9 people there. At the meeting, we voiced that we didn't mind having a single-family home. The issues that were raised at that meeting were the parking. There was, we feel that a duplex is just too much, because parking is difficult, in the last 20 years that we've lived in this neighborhood, we have seen the traffic on Endicott Street just skyrocket. And it's just a very, very, very getting worse and worse all the time. 3 o'clock in the afternoon, don't even think about getting out of Warren Street Extension or in that area because of traffic. Now, if you walk down our street in the evening and into the Berry Street area, parking is very, very, very tight there. Now, you're going to introduce at least 4 new people or even more than that into the neighborhood with a family. And we just feel it's too much. It's just adding too much. I have no complaints about building a single-family property there. If you look at the regulations, it's R1A, and it requires 15,000 square feet for one home. It's a 10,000 square foot property, so you're asking for that variance and several other variances because the front footage isn't correct or the rear footage. But one of the things that came up at the meeting was the foundation that does exist there. And it was asked that someone to view the geotechnical report that was produced on the property of the foundation. And Mr. Feld provided it to Dan. And upon reading it, the problem that we have with this report is it's saying that the foundation is 10 years old. So there's a really gross error in this report. But I would support a single-family home with the parking coming on to Endicott Street rather than Berry Street because of the parking issues on Berry Street. I'm going to pass one of these reports around so that you can see that this report says that the foundation is 10 years old, and it was done in 2014.
Do we have this? Do we have this report, Attorney General? Can I have a motion to receive? You heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? To vote. We had another communication from one of the residents. Yeah. Can I have a motion to receive this as well? All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. You're all set, ma'am? No, I just want to make sure you're done. Is there anybody else here this evening that would like to speak in opposition? Anybody else that would like to speak in opposition? It's now or never, sir. You got to make up your mind.
I'm
That's
confused.
right. Please
How you
state.
doing? I'm Dan from 65 Endicott Street.
Thank you.
Directly across the street from the property. I'm not against or for it, to be honest with you. My concern was the foundation. Mr. Felt handed me a report from where he clarified it to us from 2014, but I didn't realize there was an error in it, in the report. My only concern was a foundation. Since I was a builder for 33 years, the safety of a house going on top of a foundation. I'm all for cleaning up the lot. As far as a duplex, single family, doesn't make a difference 10 feet above the other to me or to my wife. So I'm not for it or against it. Right now, you know, both sides got me swayed, you know, and I'm right across from it. The traffic has gotten outrageous over there, though. Trying to back out of our driveways or trying to get in the driveways, you got to wait 15 minutes and you block the other traffic coming the other way. But I take that as the downtown traffic and the project going on down there, because it wasn't going on until that project started. As far as you know, building, duplex, single family, I could, you know, I'll give them the blessing, you know. They're only trying to make an honest thing happen here, my opinion. But as far as, you know, foundation, they gotta find out what's actually there. You know, if it's 10 years old or 25 years old, you know what I mean? You gotta get the right answer. You know, that's my opinion on this. Okay?
Thank you, sir. I'm not sure we got your last name. We got you.
Place.
Place, thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to speak in opposition? Anybody else who would like to speak in opposition? Seeing none, Councilor Matsoulis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let's touch on that structural report you got back, Jack. Everything's in order here.
That was a report that was commissioned by my client Dennis Feld and was presented to
It's
the building
structurally
department.
sound. That's what
Correct.
I'm looking for.
Yeah, it's not
Okay.
geotechnical, it's structural.
Okay. Councilors, I've got to bring you back in time. 28 years ago, I was on this council, and this was an issue that was before us. Let me just draw the picture so you could see what I was looking at the time. There were two greenhouses there. They were collapsing. The glass was on top of one another. There was a foundation there also. I don't remember what it was for, but it was on the property. The property was littered. There were trees growing everywhere. And that neighborhood at the time said, "Counselor, do something about it." I didn't do anything about it. The Felds came to me and said, "Look, we want to do something about this." I got the neighbors together. Harry Ankleys was the attorney at the time. And we had a meeting, we had 2 or 3 meetings over this, and they came up with an agreement to put a 2-unit structure on 10,000 square feet. 1988, the laws were different. You could do that on 10,000 square feet. Today, the lots are 15,000 square feet. It was different at the time. I had one goal and one concern. That was the welfare and the safety of the neighborhood. I saw this as a win for the Fells. I saw this as a win for the neighborhood. They were going to get this area cleaned up, put a unit in, put 2 units there. Their property values would rise a little bit because they were going to clean up this neighborhood. They wouldn't have to worry about the rats that were in there at that time. And if they're still there now, I don't know, but the site right now is a mess again. We allowed, or at least I made that motion, and the council went along with me to allow them to put 2 units in there. And we also agreed, and this came from the neighborhood, that they would not have an exit going out to Endicott Street. Now I hear this evening we're talking about a parking problem where you're going to park your cars. We have a piece of land here that's 10,000 square feet. You could put 20 cars on 10,000 square feet. That's including the house. There's plenty. That's not even an issue, okay? Now, I am not one who goes against my neighbors. I'm usually the guy, if the neighbors come up and say, "Jim, we don't want this. We don't want this." I will look for reasons to not put something like that in there. But my reason for going along with this evening is going to be the same reason I had 28 years ago, to clean up that neighborhood. Let's get it cleaned up, enhance that neighborhood for the people that live there. And when you drive by, it's going to be safe. You'll be proud of it. There'll be plenty of parking there, and you'll be proud of it. And I'll be proud of it too. That's my ward. I want to see my ward looking good. I would like to say, go ahead, put a single-family home there. But you know something? They already have a structure that's there. They've already built it to accommodate 2 units. What are you going to do? Tell them to tear that down and start all over and put 1 unit when I gave them permission 28 years ago? I think that I'm doing the right thing again by supporting this, and I hope my neighbors understand where I'm coming from, because my concern is, as I said, for the safety and the welfare of the neighborhood, and I think this is a win-win situation for both sides. Councilors, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Matsoulis. Other councilors? Councilor Gravel.
Yeah, I just need a point of clarification. Are we asking to issue a new special permit, or is this to reactivate the existing special permit because I'm just curious as to how that whole thing plays. I've never had a situation where a special permit's 28 years old and then...
I had met
Yeah,
with,
I think we're in a very,
it's a reactivation.
I think we're in a, I'm gonna take that question just for a moment, because I think we are in a very gray area here, because we had we typically, I believe, there's a stipulation that you have to act on the special permit within 2 years. And they did to an extent, and so I think that's what creates some of the gray area, and I'd ask council to...
I had met with the building commissioner to suggest that the building of the foundation and recording of the special permit was an exercise of the rights under that special permit. Commissioner suggested that we get it back before the council. So in my application, I spoke to the issue of renewal, refreshing, and reissuing. So to use your word, a reactivation, that's the area we're in.
Just, Councilor Gravel, to add to the grayness of this matter, the use is not currently allowed by special permit in that zoning district, so it's confusing. Other councilors? Councilor Sinowitz.
Thank you, Mr. President. So we're put in a position where, is there any legal counsel here for the city? Wow.
Good evening. Adam Buckley on behalf of the city.
Thank you for being here. Thank you very much. Can you enlighten us on this issue, or is the special permit still in effect? So if it is, then we can move forward. If not, then we're in a gray area, as the chairman said.
Well, anytime there's a gray area, I don't like to kind of issue an opinion on the spot. I mean, it's something I could look at and get back to the council on if you wanted to refer to legal, the committee, and we can discuss it at that point, but I wouldn't have an answer for you on the spot tonight.
Okay, I have some other comments, but it's tough to get by the first part. You know, I can ask a lot of questions, but if I don't know... All right, thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
Thank you. Through you to Attorney Kelty. So if this house gets built, it's going to be the exact same footprint as was requested 28 years ago?
Yes.
There's no additions?
The only addition is the decks showing in the back. I don't think that the two decks that I show on my plan, I don't think that they were on the original plan. However, they do not violate the setback requirement.
Okay, so no variances
Yeah.
would be needed. Look, if it is legal, I mean, it's consistent with what's in the neighborhood. There's two families pretty much surrounding it, I believe. Is that true?
Yes, quite a few. They're not all. There's two and even threes. There's threes.
And honestly, I mean, I think what concerns me is I don't know what's being put up. I know it's a two-family, but we have no plans of an architect saying this is what it's going to look like, this is going to be the height. We're approving something with no... I've got just rendering, so it would be nice to have something to say, this is what we're building, this is, the neighbors know it's going to be this high, this is where the driveways are, this is going to be where the deck is, and that's all I'm asking.
We know where the deck is. We know where the driveway is.
Well, you do.
No,
but I don't.
you've got a plan in your package. You've got a plan in your package that shows where the driveway is.
This is from 28 years ago?
No.
This is recent?
And the reason that we put the 4 spaces on Berry Street is that the original permit, and I don't know why, but the original permit said no access from Endicott. So we tried to design it so that it would be very similar. The foundation is what it is in the sense, and so we're no bigger than the original foundation that was shown in the original plan. And as to the look of the house, the ZBA and the, you know, I don't mind being sort of bound by one of those appearances, but generally speaking, zoning doesn't provide for style. But I understand your comments. But there are a host of these similarly sized on County Street. There's a couple of them up. There's actually a couple on Kosciuszko that goes down the hill from Endicott.
Is the height comparable to the
Yeah, the height will not
residential
exceed
homes or-
35 feet.
Okay.
So the zoning district allows for 35 feet.
Okay.
And actually, as to the 88 permit, the 88 permit was under section 151, alteration of pre-existing non-conforming, because the 2 greenhouses show they were there at the time. They were non-conforming. So that's why they were able to give a permit that allowed for the duplex.
Okay. Look, the property is clearly, indeed, it's in disrepair, it's a mess, and I think it would be an addition to the neighborhood, as if we can vote on it. I still don't know if, you know, somebody's got to say, you know, convince me that we can vote on this tonight and say, yeah, we can move forward.
I do know that the special permit application was signed off by the building commissioner, and I do know, although I'm not going to speak for anybody, but I know there was a conversation between the commissioner and Solicitor Smazinski, but I can't speak to that.
The final question is, if for some reason we couldn't vote on it, it reverts back, it's a new special permit, it's not allowed, would the applicant still be willing to build a single-family home there? Or is that totally out the door?
Well, if we were to build a single-family home, it would be the same mass as that foundation is.
So you would stick to the original foundation and make it a single
Now
family.
we've got a house that's twice as big as anybody in the neighborhood, in a sense.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Councilor Charis.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm going to be in favor of this proposal. One is it's better than what you have there. 2 is by the history of the family who wants to build this property. This family has been very involved in Peabody. He's been keeping his private home immaculate. I live close by. I'm proud to be able to drive by there and saying what a beautiful home. I drive by his business. His business is in the same conditions. It's beautiful. He does a lot for the community. This is something that he's not looking to turn over. He's going to use this property as a pride in his own business. We're going back and forth. Yes, it is gray. As a freshman counselor, I'm overwhelmed about can you build on it because the length of the time, the foundation, we've got inspection. It's not going to be anything worse than what he's proposing to do. I'm in favor of this. I ask the other councilors to support this and move on.
Thank you, Councilor Charis. Councilor Turco?
Thank you, Mr. President. I was prepared. I went with Councilor Matsoulis to the community meeting, and I heard the resident issues. And much like Councilor Matsoulis, you know, I'd like to side on the with the residents most of the time. But you know, I drove by that property, and I think it's a blighted area that really needs to something needs to be done there. But my concern is the 28-year differential. And I, before I would vote on it, would really like to get some clarification on that, because I don't want to set up a situation where we have contractors and developers beginning projects under a special permit and coming back to us 30 years later, and we've done it by past practice. So I would like some clarification on my end before I vote on that, but thank you.
Other councilors. Councilor Matsoulis.
Close the public hearing, Mr. Chairman.
Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve for Dennis Feld and Rita Michelle Feld, 54 Endicott Street, to reinstate, refresh, renew, and issue a special permit to allow use of an existing foundation to construct a duplex. So move.
Councilors, you heard the motion. Roll call. Up on the motion, Councilor Sinowitz.
Yeah, I mean, look, I support the project, but I just want to know if we're in a legal position where we're doing the right thing to do this. And I think, you know, we're playing with fire. And I know the councilor wants to move forward with it, but I would prefer to just get a legal opinion. That's what we pay, that's what we pay our city solicitor for. But if that's the will of the council, then I will vote on it. But, you know, if there's 4 votes, no votes, you lose. So you just want to make sure that, and I don't know how everybody's going to vote, but just want to make sure I'm doing the right thing legally, and not we'll come back and bite you. Because if we're doing the wrong thing, somebody could drop a lawsuit on you after you started building, and then you got a cease and desist order on you. So roll the dice.
Councilor Walsh.
Thanks, Mr. President. You know, I understand the councilor's concern, but I can't help but think, had this structure been constructed 28 years ago, this wouldn't even be a discussion. The foundation is in. It's consistent with the neighborhood. Yeah, the situation's a little bit unique, but I don't think that we are on unsound footing here. I think that what we're doing is correct, and that, you know, I mean, each councilor can make his or her own decision, but I think we are within our rights to move forward on this. Just my unlegal opinion.
That from our Chairman of Legal Affairs. Roll call.
Councilors Mitsoulas,
Yes.
Sinowitz, Walsh,
Yes.
Manning Martin,
Yes.
Charis,
Yes.
Sasla,
Yes.
Turco,
Yes.
Gravel,
Yes.
Garabedian,
Yes.
Gould,
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Motion carries 11-0.
Thank you, councilors.
Item 4B, Councilor Saslow, we have a late receipt, I believe.
Yes, thank you, Council President. Under suspension rules, motion to receive late communication from Attorney Ethan Von Solitis.
Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor, any opposed, the vote. That communication is requesting a continuance to June 23rd. Can I have that motion?
Yes, motion to continue the hearing until June 23rd from tonight, June 9th. So move.
Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor, any opposed, it's a vote. Item 4C, would the clerk please read the notice?
Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody will conduct a public hearing on Thursday evening, June 9th, 2016, at 7:30 p.m. in the Franco Wigan Auditorium, City Hall, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass., for the purpose of hearing testimony to determine whether or not a violation reported to the Peabody City Council under date of April 12, 2016 by the Peabody Police Department as it relates to the Class II motor vehicle license issued to Elite Motor Cars, 93 Lynn Street, Peabody, Mass. Said action could include the suspension or revocation of said Class II motor vehicle license or issuance of a penalty under Section 1-10, general penalty of the Code of the City of Peabody and/or suspension or revocation of Special Permit 3-2011 or issuance of a penalty under Section 15.5 of the Peabody zoning ordinance. Peabody City Council, Councilor Peter M. McGinn, City Council President.
Councilors, this show cause hearing was going to be conducted by Assistant City Solicitor Adam Buckley.
Good evening, councils again. My name is Adam Buckley. I'm the Assistant City Solicitor for the City of Peabody. The purpose of this hearing is to determine whether or not any action will be taken on violations submitted by the Peabody Police Department as it relates to the special permit issued to Elite Motor Cars, 93 Lynn Street, Peabody, Mass. Is there anyone from the Peabody Police Department that wishes to be heard? Good evening. Please state your name for the record.
Good evening. Marty Cohan, Peabody Police Department.
And Deputy Cohan, please express your position with the Peabody Police Department.
I'm the Deputy Chief, and I'm also in charge of licensing, supervising one detective who does licensing.
And how long have you worked at the Peabody Police Department?
31 years.
Okay. And did you or any officer under your supervision ever report to 93 Lynn Street as part of your work?
Yes.
And do you remember the dates?
Yes, our original interaction was back in May of 2015, a result of a citizen complaint about overage. We went there to speak to Mr. Phillips in regard to the amount of vehicles on the premises.
And was there any other time that you reported to 93 Lynn Street?
Yes, in January of 2016, we went there again as a result of a citizen complaint, and again, conducted a car count and found an overage and issued a warning to the licensee. Then in April of 2016, as a result of a complaint that was forwarded to us by one of the councilors, we again went there and did a car count, and as a result, issued a violation, city ordinance violation. And then again in April of 2016, went there again and issued a subsequent ordinance violation.
Okay, so there were 2 dates in April, is that correct?
Yes, and on both dates, there was an excess amount of vehicles that were allowed by the license.
And on both those dates, there were citations that were issued?
Yes, there were.
Okay. Is there anyone that has any questions for Deputy Cohan? Counsel Gould.
Thank you, Attorney Buckley. Deputy Chief Cohan, can you tell me what his permit allows him and what the count was each for the 4 instances, please?
They're allowed 13 unregistered vehicles to be on the premises at any one given time. The 2 times that we issued a violation, there were 18.
And the other 2 times that you went, there were no violations? I thought you gave us 4 dates. I may be wrong.
The original 2, I don't have a record of the count. They were just warnings.
Well, there were 4 instances of over.
There were 4 incidents where there was an overage. The first one was just a warning. He was new at the time. He had just had to transfer the license. And the second time, he made reference that he was going to come before the council for an increase, and we apprised him that he needed to do that, and that in the interim, he needed to maintain 13 or less.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen. Thank you.
Counsel Sasslaw.
Deputy Cohen, do you know if the fines have been paid?
I understand through Attorney Kelty that they have.
Any other questions by the council? Counsel Gould.
Thank you. Sorry, I should have asked this. In your opinion, is it oversight or negligence or poor attitude, or what is going on, in your opinion?
In my opinion, he's a businessman who's just trying to conduct a business. He has a lot that might not really be conducive to a business that might be expanding. It's a tough corner We've always had problems there. I don't think it's anything with him. We had far more problems with the previous owner.
Is there any blocking of the sidewalks? Is that ever a violation?
That was always a concern with the previous owner. There's been no complaints about that with the existing licensee.
Thank you.
Council Garabedian.
Thank you. You're saying that he has 13 unregistered cars, that's his license, and it was 18 on the lot?
18 unregistered vehicles.
18 unregistered? No customer cars, no?
Well, we don't count them because all of the licenses are different and they all have different restrictions. In this particular one, all it states is 13 unregistered vehicles. It becomes an issue for us sometimes interpreting these things. So, because in reality, if there were 11 unregistered vehicles and 12 registered vehicles, it's a lot of vehicles, but he's in compliance.
Is he here tonight? Okay, well, my question would be, of the 13 unregistered cars and the overflow, were any of those overflows going somewhere else, like to the auction or sold or whatever?
I don't know. We don't inquire about the whys.
Because that's what happens when you only have 13 cars in a small lot. You may purchase some to take right to the auction, and it may be a couple of days later, and maybe he got caught in the whirlwind there. So I don't know. That's why I like to speak to him about it.
Council Wash.
Yeah, thank you. My question to you is this. There's been some discussion about are these 13 unregistered vehicles in the lot, or does it include the building itself?
Well, again, that's another example of an ambiguity. We don't know. I can tell you that personally, I don't count inside, but I don't know if we should or shouldn't. So we don't. We err in his.
Okay, so if I might, the 18 vehicles when you found him in violation were all on the exterior of the building?
All on the pavement, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Council Gravel.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Deputy Chief Cohen. And, you know, I was here when the prior owner had a similar problem. I mean, multiple times, parking the cars up on the sidewalk, encroaching the sidewalk, got several warnings. I guess my feeling is, why would we even put a number on the permit if we don't want to enforce it? And, you know, we were talking about parking tonight and talking about key to the whole thing is enforcement. And here you're bringing us enforcement, and I think you're right in doing so. I mean, you're allowed 13. It's a big difference between 13 and 18. It's not like one extra car, you know, and I could try to make an excuse for everybody in the world that does that, but I mean, it's, I think it falls more under the rule of it's easier to beg forgiveness than it is to ask permission. And, you know, if we allow this to go on, who's going to listen to anything that we have to say? I would say, you know, more than ever, I want the police enforcing the special permits. I think if you went down to a couple of the other lots, particularly one down on Washington Street, I was amazed at the number of cars that they could put on that lot. I didn't get out of my car to count, but I mean, if you could put a slice of paper between two cars, you were lucky. And it just seems to me that we've got a permit that has a requirement. A petitioner for that permit who said that they would meet that requirement was given 4 opportunities and basically ignored it. So I don't feel a whole lot of compassion here, and I appreciate you doing the difficult job of bringing it before us, but I really think what you brought before us is exactly why we have to have a hearing like this and why we have to live up to what we say in these permits, or we might as well just throw the darn things out the window.
Councilor Charist.
Thank you, through the chair.
I agree with Councilor Gravel. Every business has a license per se in Peabody, right? If it's a daycare, they have a license, how many kids? If it's a liquor store, they have a license to sell only to over 21 and over. Tobacco is the same thing. Everyone has a license, driver's license, you have a certain time you can drive. If it was the first time, and he's gotten 2 warnings, the last thing I want is the police department to start saying, well, you know what, if people are breaking the rules for how many cars they have on a lot, then maybe we shouldn't pull over people who are speeding. Maybe we shouldn't pull them over for going through the stop signs. That's not what I want. That's not what I think the residents want in Peabody, and we want the police department, fire department to do their diligence and doing the jobs they're appointed to. And I think by us not supporting that is going down the wrong road. People in Peabody want us to live by the rules. They want us to conduct business by the rules. They were warned a couple of times. Again, what message does it say to the other businesses, if it's a car dealership or any other business, is that we don't enforce the rules. If you agree to something, you agree to it, conduct the business to where you agree to. If you don't like it, come front and ask for something different. But don't put your nose to it and just do whatever you want. It puts the police in a bad situation. It puts everyone in a bad situation.
Councilor Walsh.
Thank you, Attorney Buckley. I guess I'm a little bit confused. I agree that, look, we issue a number of vehicles allowed on a site, and that should be complied to. My question tonight is, what exactly are we doing? Because from what I understand through Councilor Saslaw's question, the citations that have been issued to the dealership have been paid. So are we, what's our ultimate goal here tonight? Are we looking to reprimand? Are we looking to, I'm not quite sure what exactly the ultimate purpose is.
If I may, the citations have been paid. Attorney Kelty is going to speak on behalf of Elite Motors, so he might be able to enlighten the council on his position. But since the citations have been paid, there was an appeal that was brought in Peabody District Court, but Attorney Kelty can address those when he speaks. Council Sinowitz.
Thank you, Mr. Buckley. So, Council Garabedian and I don't sell cars for a living. So there's all sorts of things that can happen from what you're describing. So before we hang the guy for this, and I know his attorney's here, but I'd like to hear from his mouth, from the owner himself, to come forward if he wants to. He doesn't have to, and just tell us what's going on. Was there a crossover of vehicles, or somebody who managed it can't count, or is it just blatant? Hey, I'm doing what I want. So I'd like to hear it, and I prefer to hear it from the owner of the place. But if his attorney's going to speak for him, that's all fine and well too. But you know, we're not here to hurt your business, but we got multiple violations, and we're trying to find out what's going on. And he did pay the fines, so I don't know, is this another violation on top of this one, or is there be another fine, or is it come to we got to look at? So it's your decision. Thank you.
Any more questions? Go ahead, Councilor Turco.
I think this was going to be addressed at some point in this hearing, but since it's been asked, at the time that we originally met regarding these violations, they were not paid, and they were challenged in court. So that was a major concern of mine due to the fact that the police department had put so much time and effort into monitoring this lot. So in response to Representative Walsh, the end game, I think, is to make sure that those fines are paid, that the police department is respected in its decisions, in that Mr. Phillips is aware that the council does have the authority to suspend this license, and would likely do that with any further violations. And that's really all I expected out of this hearing, was to make sure that our police department was given the respect that it deserves. Thank you.
Any other questions for Deputy Chief Cohen? Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone that wishes to be heard on behalf of Elite Motorcars?
I'm John Kelty, and I have offices. I'm an attorney. I have offices at 40 Lowell Street in Peabody, Massachusetts, and I appear this evening on behalf of Elite Motorcars in the person of George Phillips. George is here this evening, and if councilors would like to hear directly from George, George is fully capable of speaking to you. But initially, Councilor Turco is correct. He had appealed the violations. He had engaged the services of Eastern Land Survey to prepare a plan that would have come before this board asking for more cars. We met with, I met with the Phillips, and that plan I was skeptical would ever fly. I was then made aware that there was a magistrate's hearing scheduled. I had advised that Mr. Phillips pay the fines. He has paid the fines. We're here for the show cause hearing. I know you have the right to revoke, suspend, or provide a penalty in accordance with Section 15 of the ordinance. We would like, since the actual payment of the fines, since that time, I would now go to the court, cancel the magistrate's hearing, and which was scheduled for July 26th. There's no need for it in the event that he's paid. By paying the fines, it's an admission. We're not challenging what the police reports have said. The counselor and police department certainly have Mr. Phillips' attention, and he is now at the level of 13 that he is supposed to have been at. So, if counselors would like to hear from Mr. Phillips, do you want to add anything? Yeah. If you have any questions for George.
Good evening, guys. A little nervous here, but I guess I'm trying to explain myself a little bit what's going on. I went over a little bit by cars by 5. I'm not going to argue that. I did not know that the cars, I keep 3 or 4 cars inside.
State your name and address for the record.
Oh, okay. George Phillips, 7 Marabou Lane, Linfield, Mass. I keep sometimes 3 to 4 cars inside that are sometimes my own personal cars I toy around with, and that's what's throwing me off and getting counted. The original gentleman that had the license there for service had 13 cars, but he also used the base for service. I don't do auto service. I don't know if there's any more questions or anything else I can answer for the council.
Council
Yes, sir.
Sasslaw.
So the testimony from the officer from the Peabody Police said he doesn't count anything inside the base.
If you look at the report, there is
If I could just finish, please?
Yes, sir.
He said he doesn't even go near the base. He made that quite clear. 13 is 13. Do you understand? Because to me this is simple, folks. We're spending a lot of time, and I respect we're trying to give everyone, but I mean, do you have any questions of us? Because it's 13, that's the number.
Okay.
And you know, you represent not only yourself, you represent your industry, and, you know, Council Turco, you know, I just, you know, I appreciate you coming before, but my question is there anything that you don't understand? Because can't see much more simpler. 13 cars is the license, that's what it's at, and I just want to make sure that you don't have any questions, because I don't want to see you come back here and say, I didn't understand. Is there anything that you don't understand? 13 is your license, that's what it should be.
I understand.
No further questions from me.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Council Manning Martin.
Thank you. Just two questions or 2 points.
through you to Tim, we enacted the new ordinance to have the permit with the number written in large font to be displayed to the street. Has that been applied to his business?
Yes, everybody that's renewed has been sent one of those
Okay.
placards to post.
If I may then to Marty, do you recall if that's been posted on his door? Displayed to the street as it's supposed to be?
I have to be honest, I didn't realize that even happened. I'm not sure that we were notified. I'll have to double check with Detective Crane, but normally, both of us.
Okay. I was looking and I didn't see it posted, so I wanted to know you to just confirm that, but it's not posted. So I think, yes, and I guess Tim, if you could alert the police department again, or that it's a new ordinance, we have the permit with a large number so that it can be seen by the street and to assist you in enforcing it. So this, just the average citizen will know when each car lot is over. So it's to be displayed in the front window facing the street, in a large font, the actual number. So that's one thing. So that needs to be done. And I think that he's paid his fine. He's paying this attorney. We've made our point. 13's 13. And we will remember him should he come again. So as Council Sasslaw is saying, if you come again, you know, the hammer's coming down. So I think we've spent enough time on this. Thank you.
Council Garabedian?
Just a couple of things here. If you know it's 13 cars and you go to 18, it's just a total disrespect to the council and the special permit process. So there's a few things we can do, like we can fine you and you know and all that, but we also can pull your license, which then you can't operate, you can't make money, you can't feed your family, you can't do anything. That's not what we want to do. So the council, it seems like they want to be nice about this, but I'm going to tell you, the point's getting across that if you come up again, that's what's going to happen, or could happen, and you don't want that.
No, I don't want that.
You know what I mean? So play by the rules, and then you won't ever have to come up again.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay.
No further questions? If so, I'd like to, excuse me, Councilman McGinn.
Thank you. Before you leave the podium, and while your attorney's here, and it's kind of in line with what Councilor Sasslaw said about making sure you're clear and kind of reinforcing what Councilor Garabedian said, that the notice that you received, are you very clear on exactly what actions could happen if you're asked to come back here again?
Yes, I am, sir.
You are. You're 100%
Yes, I am.
crystal clear.
100% crystal clear.
Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to close the show cause hearing.
Councilors, you heard the motion to close the hearing. All in favor? Any opposed? A vote? It's Councilor Marsoulis made the motion. So all we've done is close the public hearing. We've not taken any further action. So if there's I'm not running this meeting, but if there's a motion, we need to put that forward to the Assistant City Solicitor.
Would be the motion to take no action?
You heard the motion. Excuse me, Councilor Charis.
Through you to committee, should we go on record of issuing a warning so if it does happen, it can be on file that he came in front of the committee already? He's been put on notice by the committee, not only by the police department, that this did occur? That put as a question to the Counselor.
Yes, I believe Councilor Turco would be making the motion. He can include that in his motion. Councilor Turco, would you like to make a motion?
Yeah, I mean, because we were a little out of order, I wasn't aware that it was time for my motion, but yes, I did want to make a motion. I believe that we've addressed the issue with the 2 current violations. I'm satisfied that they've been paid. I'm satisfied that Mr. Phillips understands the next step in this procedure. So the motion would be to accept the 2 current violations as sufficient penalty against violation of the special permit.
And also in that motion, do you want to include about the citations being paid with the city clerk?
Okay, I thought I had said that. Yes, so the motion would be for the 2 violations being paid, and that would be sufficient penalty for the violations of the special permit.
Okay, you heard the motion. Roll call.
Councilors Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Sinowitz.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
Manning Martin. Charis.
Yes.
Sasslaw.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
Garabedian.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Motion carries 11 to nothing.
Thank you, councilors. Just a point of clarification. Do they get paid to Timmy's office? No, it's court. Yeah, okay. And the other, to Councilor Manning Martin, does that thing with the big number, does it say it's got to be displayed? Okay, because he's got it on the wall, but it's on the inside.
Yeah, we changed that last year in effort to better assist the police in enforcing,
Fine.
so that it was in plain view facing the street. Thank you.
He'll move it.
Thank you.
Item 5, reports of committees. Councilor Walsh.
Thank you, Mr. President. Tonight, the Legal Affairs Committee met. At the committee was Councilors Gould, Gravel, Sasslaw, Garabedian, and you, Mr. President. The mayor appeared before us requesting that we establish a commission on disability for the city of Peabody. A couple motions were made. The first was that we adopted Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 8J, which formally establishes a commission on disability in Peabody. And the formalized Commission on Disability acts as an advisory board to the appointing authority. And that motion was made by Councilor Gravel and unanimously accepted. Second motion, Mr. President, was a motion...
Can we want to take those separately, Council?
Sure.
So we're moving that now to the full council?
Yes.
So, councilors, you heard the motion for the adoption of
the commission.
Of the Chapter 40. Could you just give me the...
Chapter 40, Section 8J.
Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Council.
The second motion, also made by Councilor Gravel, was that Peabody will adopt Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 8J, and then adopt the Mass General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 22G. And what 22G does is allows the funds collected from handicap parking fines to be given to the Commission on Disability. Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 22G allows the Disability Commission to use the collected funds solely for the benefit of persons with disabilities. And on that motion, Mr. President, Councilor Manning Martin also pointed out that there is new signage that she would like adopted that points out handicap spaces, and it's just a different illustration. So that will be included in any of the funding, fundings that are received. Some of that money will go towards honoring that request. So moved.
Councilors, you heard the motion for the adoption of Chapter 40, Section 22G of the Mass General Laws. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Walsh.
Thank you, Mr. President. The last motion was just a motion to advise the mayor to establish the commission, which can include up to 9 members, and a representative from the police department would be among those, along with a representative from the community development department, and then all others should have some relation to the community with disabilities.
Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Walsh.
Thank you, Mr. President. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Walsh. Councilor Gould.
Thank you, Mr. President. Tonight we met, almost 2-hour meeting. Present was Councilor Manning Martin, Councilor Sasslaw, Councilor Sinowitz, Councilor Walsh, as well as all the other councilors. It was a very lively discussion led by Councilor Gravel, gave specific changes that he has worked on in subcommittees of PDAT, along with Councilor McGinn, and a number of those changes were very significant. We heard from members of the public, the Chamber of Commerce. We heard from business owners, and we've decided to keep that in committee, where community development will draft up some changes for us, and then we'll come before the full council. We'll receive it on the 23rd, we hope, of June, and come before the full council on July 14th. That is the first of 5 items, Mr. President. Second was a downtown parking recommendation for changes to parking fees and fines, and after a very lively discussion, we are also asking community development to put that together, Tim, I believe, in the form of an ordinance?
Yes.
Thank you, Tim. And also to report out to us on the 23rd for the full adoption on the 14th.
I'm not sure we got the commitment on that one for the 23rd.
Okay, I thought we did.
For the ordinance changes.
Maybe we didn't.
I just want to set the right expectation with the council. We definitely did on the first item.
Okay. We also heard from community development on the completed streets policy, and we voted to go with the recommendations of that. And we also went item by item on proposed zoning board.
Councilor Gould, excuse me just for a moment. The completed streets, there was a motion made there on that one, wasn't there?
Yes, there was.
So should we bring that one to the full
Sure,
council?
let's bring it to full
Just so
council.
we take them one by one.
Sure.
So the motion was to adopt the completed streets policy as provided.
As provided, correct.
Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Thank you, Councilor
You're
Gould.
welcome, Mr. President. I got so into my zoning. And
You were on a roll, no question about
It
it.
was just amazing. I forgot to make notes, so this is all winging it here. We also heard from Community Development and Mr. Tellerico from the Building Commissioner on proposed zoning amendments. We went item by item, had a lively discussion on all items. We are keeping one item from adopting, and we are going to address that when Mr. Tellerico, we're going to keep it in committee. Councilor Sinowitz recommended we keep it in committee on the permit, hours of operation on permits.
So there was a motion to send all items
to the planning board
in that proposal
other than
as amended through the course of the meeting, with the
Correct.
exception of the last item pertaining to section 15 to the planning board.
Correct. So moved.
Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Gould.
And lastly, we heard from Community Development Leader Kennard on the amendments to the traffic section of the City Code Traffic Control Agreement between DOT and City of Peabody. And we decided to accept as recommended and advertise.
As councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote.
And
Councilor Gould.
Can't wait for our next Industrial Community Development meeting, Mr. President.
You're on the marathon
I have-
session. Thank
I
you,
have
Councilor
nothing
Gould.
else. Thank you.
Councilor Manning Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Public Services Committee met on May 23rd. Joining us were Dave Terenzoni, Kevin Kelly, and also the mayor were all present in attendance with myself as chair, Councilors Charest, Gravel, Mitsoulas, and Councilor Gould sitting in for Councilor Sinowitz. There were a couple of items on the agenda, one being sidewalks and a review of the progress of repairs, and and Public Works also shared a list that denotes what calls were made and what repairs need to be done on sidewalks, calls from constituents. And there are 13 outstanding requests for repairs, and the cost estimate for that is about $1 million. And the criteria by which the repairs are made consists of the age, when the last paving was done, and it also takes into account how well traveled by pedestrians these sidewalks are, as well as if they're near downtown or near schools. Those types of sidewalks will be prioritized for repair. And the councilors were very pleased that the list was shared with us. This way, when constituents call us, we can also refer to the list to show the constituents that their calls have been heard and lodged, and it's more transparent that way. And we believe that residents and constituents like to know that they've been heard and that the information, that they're on the list. A lot of times we say, it's the same thing with the roads. They'll call and they'll say, well, you're on the list, but we've never really seen the list, so it was great the mayor and Department of Public Works shared the actual list of both the sidewalks and the streets, so that we as liaisons to the residents can reaffirm that they've been heard and that they are actually on the list. The list prioritizing the streets had a little more information on it, and they were prioritized by a numbered system, number 5 being the streets in most disrepair. And this list also tracked the locations of lead pipes that need to be replaced in the city. And we were very appreciative of that sharing of that information as well. And along with the lead pipes, we discussed another issue about the MWRA low-interest loans that are available to the city to assist in switching out all of those lead pipes throughout the city. And the mayor informed us that evening that he had just received the application for those available grants, and that he would need a little more time to review the information, and he would get back to us after reviewing the criteria, and that matter was left in subcommittee. So that is a report of progress. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Manning Martin. Moving to item 6, Councilor Mitsoulas. Any motions, Council?
I'd like to make a motion for a handicap parking spot at 65 Endicott Street. So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Mitsoulas.
Yeah. And earlier this evening, Mr. Chairman, we had a neighborhood meeting, and one of the neighbors here requested, I don't know if it can be done, but I'd like the light plan to look into putting a street light at Berry Street and Endicott Street at the corner of both of them. So moved.
Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Mitsoulas.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Mitsoulas. Councilor Sinowitz.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under suspension of the rules, move to receive item 8C and set up a special permit hearing, all papers being in order. So moved.
Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote.
And that's it, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Sinowitz. Councilor Walsh.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just one motion tonight. This is a joint motion with Councilor Sasslaw, and that is to request the Community Development Department to include the discussion of motor vehicle safety and traffic patterns from Goodale Street to Bourbon Street as part of the construction review process for the Bonkers Plaza. So moved.
Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Walsh. Councilor Manning Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There is a Senate Bill 2311 that I wanted to bring to the attention of my colleagues. It was brought to me from a colleague in another city to keep an eye on. I'm not very familiar with it, but I just wanted to get some more information on it to share with my colleagues. It is regarding multi-family by right instead of single family, and it has to do with local zoning in an effort, I think, to increase affordable housing. And it would change the two-thirds majority to a simple majority. And that bill is getting some traction. It's gaining legs, so we want to keep an eye on that. So if our esteemed Representative Walsh could also maybe help research that and keep us apprised of the status of it.
Thank you, Councilor Manning Martin. All set?
I have
Oh,
another
oh,
one,
I'm
but
sorry.
I can defer to Councilor Walsh.
Councilor Walsh, would you like to make a comment on that?
Just very quickly, Mr. President, the Senate debated some zoning bills today, a zoning package. The House has not, and I'm not sure that that bill has the traction that you're suggesting on the House side. So I will keep my eye on it, but I don't think it's moving nearly as quickly as some think it is.
Excellent. That's good news, because we'd like to know what's going on with our own zoning before people take it away from us. And also, I think that we do put our best foot forward, and we have in this city for a long time, an effort to meet our 10% range. We are a little short right now, but we're not far off, and we've always focused on that. So it would be very unfair for the state to treat us the same as other cities that are at 0.05 or 2% and in an effort to increase affordable housing. So I would hope that in the discussions on this piece of legislature that certain towns that are putting a good effort forward would be, it would be waived, or that would be taken into consideration, because that would be very unfair. So those are my thoughts on that. Thank you, Councilor Walsh.
Thank you, Councilor Manning Martin. Just to add one statistic to that, my understanding is that actually less than 15% of the cities and towns in the Commonwealth have achieved the 10% threshold, and Peabody, as you pointed out, is right within striking distance. So I completely concur with your commentary.
Thank you, and we wouldn't want to be lumped in with others that have disregarded and haven't been focusing on providing affordable housing for those that need it. We have, and we always have. Thank you.
Councilor Sinowitz.
Thank you, Mr. President, and to also agree with Councilor Manning. But I would like to know, I keep hearing we're close, we're close, we're close. You know, maybe it's not I'm out of turn here, but I'd like to have community development tell us, are we 10 short? Are we 50 short? Are we 100 short? Let us know what we are, because as what we just did over in Ward 4, we just kicked the can down the road. That's all we did, you know, with that zoning change. That's all we did, and I hope it doesn't pop up somewhere else that costs us a lot of heartache in different other wards of the city. So I guess, Councilman, if you don't mind me making a motion to community development to let us know what exactly our numbers are below and what we need to meet that 10%, so we're not subjected to the 40B process.
Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor
Mr.
Manning
President,
Martin.
and thank you, Councilor Manning.
Sure. If I could make a motion to have community development in conjunction with that, come forward perhaps with Representative Walsh to give us an explanation of Senate Bill 2311 to include an assessment of what our housing stock is now with respect to meeting our 10% of affordable housing. So moved.
Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Manning Martin.
Thank you. And lastly, I just want to give a shout out to many of you. If you follow social media, you might have seen this today. The fire department had three firemen that responded to a call. A gentleman, I think he was 90, became ill and was taken out by ambulance. I think he was mowing his lawn. And the medical provider, who's a Peabody resident, kind of just shot out a quick little kudos to them because they had mowed the lawn for the gentleman while he was taken out, and they cut the bushes and they grabbed the weed whacker. And so she put that on Facebook. You know, I saw it, I forwarded it, I think some of you may have forwarded it. So it kind of trended, and then the neighbor saw that she had posted it, so he took pictures of them, and then the pictures are in the newspaper, and then I think that they were on television this evening, I forget what channel. So which was it? NECN picked it up. So it's just a feel-good story, and you don't always see people. I mean, it just started with a simple Facebook post from a woman saying, "Isn't this great? Aren't these guys great? This is what they did." So kudos to her, too, for just doing a quick thank you. And, you know, it was just a real feel-good story. And the firefighters were firefighter Italian, Lewis, and, help me, is it Javery? Am I saying that right? Javery? And, you know, just kudos to them. So I'd like, if we could, to just send from the council a letter of commendation for their just good deed caught on film, because that doesn't happen often. So it's really just kind of cool. So I just wanted to put that out there. So moved on a letter from the council.
You heard
Thank
the motion on the request for a letter of commendation. All in favor? Any opposed? Is a vote. Councilor Manning Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That is all.
Thank you, Councilor Manning Martin. Councilor Charis.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to, on the suspension of the rules, to accept a late amendment to a block party that was canceled because of the weather last week. The time and the...
Councilors, you heard the motion on the late receipt. All in favor? Any opposed? Is a vote. Councilor Charis.
The only thing that is changed is the date, the day of. It's a Saturday from a Sunday, and the 18th. Everything else is the same.
So there's a motion to
Motion
approve,
to
all papers
approve.
being in order?
Please.
Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? Is a vote. Councilor Charis.
Thank you. Ask for DPS to clean out the catch basins in front of the home of 60 Ellsworth in the corner of Hunt and Ellsworth. So in front of Ellsworth on 60, and then on the corners of 60 Ellsworth and Hunt. There's 3 more there. 64 Ellsworth, 65 Ellsworth, 67 Ellsworth, and in front of 16 Columbus on the corner of Columbus and Ellsworth. Also at the bottom of King Street. All catch basins be cleaned out. As viewed them today, they are almost to the top with sediment. So the last flash flood that we had a couple days ago made such a mess, actually going up on people's lawns because that water couldn't go into the catch basin. So if I can ask for DPS to clean those out, so move.
As councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? Is a vote. Councilor Charis.
Thank you. And one more, if you just bear with me. The last few months, I've been talking and working with Mayor Betancourt and Jen Davis and DPS up at the Farm Ave to once clean out and restore the ice park across the street from the Rollers Park on Franklin there, Perkins. If you all remember, there used to be, years ago, that area used to be flooded. Kids used to skate. It was a nice thing. That area is now being developed as a police and fire memorial, the parks, everything else. I asked for this to continue and that weeds to be cleaned out. They're working on that for this year, and I asked for that to be named in Bob Driscoll's memory. So move.
Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? Is a vote. Councilor Charis.
Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Councilor Charis. Councilor Sasslaw.
Thank you. On the suspension rules, motion to receive item 8B.
Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote.
Thank you. And I'm going to make a motion. Before I make the motion, I just want to just explain to my fellow councilors and anyone in the listening public. Heading west on Lowell Street, heading west on Lowell Street, at the corner of Lowell and Lake, we have an issue that's quite similar to the situation we had at Lowell and King Street, where it was that left turn, and we had a left turn signal put in. I travel that road daily, and when you are trying to take a left onto Lake Street from Lowell Street, basically only the first car gets through, maybe the second car if the person's nice, and lets you go. So I'm going to make a formal request in the form of a motion. Make a motion that the police department with Captain Scott Richards, the fire department with Joe De Silva, and the city engineer Will Politz report back on the cost and the viability of putting a left turn arrow heading west at the corner of Lowell and Lake Street. So move.
Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Sasslaw.
Thank you. And as many of you know, sometimes our private life cuts into our personal life. So on that note, I'm going to wish my son, Ryan, I know he's watching, happy 12th birthday, and I'm coming home to have some cake. Thank you very much.
Very good. Happy birthday. Councilor Turco.
Mr. President, motion to receive under suspension of the rules, item 8G.
Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Turco.
Motion to receive under suspension of the rules, item 9B, junk dealer's license, Elite Design.
9B, so that's a motion to approve?
Motion 9B would, would be a
Receive
motion
and
to
approve.
receive and approve all papers being in order. And Mr. President, back to item 8G, I need to set up a public hearing.
On 9B, you heard the motion to receive and approve all papers being in order. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. And you wanted to run back to 8G?
Yes, Mr. President, my mistake. A motion to receive under suspension rules, item 8G, and set up a public hearing, and I understand we're under a time constraint on that one, so...
Do we want to, there was an email on that, I think, and it alluded to an opinion that we were going to receive probably at the next meeting, so I think we would still have time to set up that hearing based on the, correct, Tim? Yeah, so this...
Yes, time is running out, but yes, we can wait until the next regular meeting, pending the legal opinion from the city solicitor, and then schedule a hearing, because the hearing's going to be July 14th. So we have time to advertise, but you can wait a little bit longer if you want to.
Okay, so the motion would not to be...
It's your call, Counselor. We don't, this 8G is referring to a request for a legal opinion. I think we got confirmation that we're going to get that legal opinion by our next meeting. And if that informs whether or not to set up a hearing, we have time to do that. So it's a judgment call you can make.
Okay, so it's just a motion to receive it. Motion to receive item 8G.
Councilors, and we already had that and voted on that motion, so we're all set on 8G. Councilor Turco, anything else?
Mr. President, motion to have Public Services install an additional speed limit sign on Bartholomew Street, somewhere in the vicinity between Valley Circle and Litchfield Road, as the residents' request.
Councilors, heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Turco.
That's all, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Turco. Councilor Gravel.
Sure. Under suspension of rules, I'd like to receive items 7A, C, D, E, F, G, and H, and refer them to Subcommittee on Finance. So moved.
Councilor, did you intentionally leave B off of there? You did. Thank you. Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Gravel.
Under suspension of rules, I'd like to receive 7B and request for advertising and posting. We're doing this in reverse order because we have an opportunity to sell the bonds at market after they're approved, obviously. But we need to get the advertising done, so we're taking the advertisement in front, and then you'll hear at the Finance Subcommittee the purpose And if it's approved that night, then we'll be able to sell the bonds with another group of bonds that are being sold and save the cost of the additional cost of selling the bonds twice. So moved.
Thank you, councilors. You heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Gravel.
No further.
Councilor Gravel, I think we have a late receipt that might also go to,
Yeah, move to receive the late receipt that was on our desk for the budget meeting. So moved.
to the Finance Committee. Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Thank you, Councilor Gould. Councilor Garabedian.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, move to get the Department of Public Works to 11 Castle Circle, where there's a tree uprooting the sidewalk and the driveway. And if they could look at that, there's also a handicapped child at that residence. This motion was made maybe 8 months ago also, and nothing's come to fruition on it, so hopefully we can get down there and check this out. Thank you.
Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed to vote? Councilor Garabedian? That's it. Thank you. Councilor Gould.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to make a co-motion with Councilor Turco to remove the no parking here to corner sign off of the stop sign that's at the corner and bring it back a car length. So you can't on, I'm sorry, I'm getting to that, on the corner of Linfield and Newhall.
I thought we were going citywide with that.
That would go citywide. So Tim, just to clarify, there's a stop sign with a no parking here to corner sign attached to the stop sign at the end of the street. So we need to move it back the length of a car.
Tim's pushing you around a little bit.
So moved.
Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed to vote? Councilor Gould.
No further motions, Mr. President.
Councilor Walsh, can I have a motion to receive item 8F and set up a public hearing on July 14th?
So moved, Mr. President.
Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Item 8A, Councilor Charist. I just grabbed you because that's the first item was in Ward 4, but I just need a motion to receive.
Proceed.
All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Item 8D.
Motion to receive.
You heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Item 8E.
Motion to receive all papers being in order. Motion to approve all papers being in order.
Motion to receive and approve all papers being in order. You heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Item 9A.
Motion to approve all papers being in order.
Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? Is a vote.
Motion
And a
to
motion to adjourn. You heard the motion. We are adjourned. Yeah, before everybody leaves, Councilor Gravel, we've got a couple of new councilors here. We're meeting as the committee of the whole, as finance. Can you just go over that schedule very briefly?
It is next Wednesday.
It's next Wednesday.
And it's committee of the, it's the subcommittee on the finance acting as committee of the whole. So you all should be here.
We've got 2 meetings scheduled.
We've got 2 meetings scheduled, but we're hoping to get it through in one, but we've got 2 scheduled. We're going to start at, Tim, what did we say, 6 o'clock? 6:30, no, 6:30.
Thank you.
And we'll move fast.